Hello everybody, welcome to The United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United transfer news where we talk about all the latest transfer news and to give it that real fan opinion. I'm going to start off with two positives because I think there's going to be a lot of negativity around Manchester United today. Although I do think it could be short-lived because if I know United like I think I do, it wouldn't be surprised if Wan Bissaka gets announced today. All excitement from that deal's gone because we've taken so long to do it, but if they release it today, it will destroy a lot of the negativity around about what's going on with midfielders, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. But there was a couple of things I wanted to start off with. First of all, one, it feels to me that this transfer window, for whatever reason, is stuck in reverse. And I think we're going to get a snowball effect. I think nobody's really doing any business at the moment. And maybe into that first week of July, we'll see it happening. Maybe I'm being optimistic, maybe not. And then the second thing I was thinking about that had to turn into a positive was, look, Rabiot is going to go to Juventus. And Ndombele, who we'll talk about in a minute, is going to go to Spurs. And Bruno Fernandes could go to Liverpool. Who the hell is left? But on top of that, have you ever thought of this? Paul Pogba goes. We now need Paul Pogba to stay. I now understand why Manchester United are begging a player who wants to leave our club to stay. Because effectively, if Pogba goes, the quality of player that you need to bring in to replace him and build the midfield, we're just not in for, are we? We're unable to get them. We're absolutely unable to get them. And you know what? Have we also considered that maybe players don't want to come to Manchester United, not just because we're in the Europa League, not just because we've been bad for 6 years, but also because they don't trust Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? And I know that doesn't sound nice for us as Manchester United fans because he's a legend to us, but is he a legend to anybody else? Or is he just an ex-Cardiff and Molde manager who looks very, very inexperienced and nobody knows anything about? I mean, look, let's talk about Ndombele because my latest understanding is that the £65 million deal has been done for Ndombele by Spurs. I saw from L'Equipe in France, they're saying it's not done yet. There's bonuses and stuff to be sorted out and there's no agreement yet. But the reality is, and we've got to be careful about that because it happened with Liverpool and Fekir, didn't it, and Lyon? So it could happen like that. And Lyon don't mess about if they don't get what they want. But a couple of things that concern me about this is that, look, maybe Manchester United last week, there was French sources saying that Manchester United were in for Ndombele. So what's happened there? As we said last night, the reality is, and it's a fact, and I've been saying this for a while, and I think a lot of you will agree, as a football club, if we don't get a player because they go to Spurs or Liverpool or Man City, it's disappointing, but actually we've got to be realistic and go, well, why is it a surprise? They are clubs who are getting to European finals, winning Premier Leagues, playing good football, got good managers, got a plan, got a structure. We are Manchester United Football Club, biggest club in the world. That's it. We're a name, we're a history, we're not a fact, we're not a reality. We're not currently in a great situation. We love Ollie. Does the rest of the world think he's that good? The squad's poor. The results are poor. We've been poor for 6 years. Why would Ndombele look at Manchester United and think you're a better proposition to me than Pochettino and Spurs and a brand new ground and a Champions League final and Champions League football? It makes total sense, doesn't it? And also, just to hammer home another point, for those people who are saying don't take any notice of the bookies being having Liverpool odds on to get Bruno Fernandes, Ndombele has been odds on to go to Spurs for about a month. And I never really understood why. Well, now you know, don't you? So for those people thinking the bookies don't mean anything with Bruno Fernandes, I'm afraid to say they probably do. But look, I've said this before. If United end up with Longstaff, forget it. We're screwed. Longstaff, McTominay, Matic, Fred, Pereira. Forget it. That's not even... Bournemouth's midfield's better than that. So something's got to happen. And I do choose to put that into a positive because Manchester United cannot. And let's not forget as well, if Spurs are adding Ndombele to their midfield, Spurs are a better team than they were last year. If Liverpool add a Bruno Fernandes or a Nabil Fekir to their midfield, they're a better team than they were last year. What are Manchester United doing to close that gap, but also keep up with that gap? It's very, very difficult to know what Manchester United are going to do with that midfield. And I'm not really going to talk about Bruno Fernandes today, but if United are refusing to pay £60 million for Bruno Fernandes, why the hell did we spend £52 million on Fred? Like, Fred at Shakhtar Donetsk did not have the pedigree, or the stats, or the aura, or the confidence that a Bruno Fernandes would have. Like, he didn't. He was okay. He was a good player for Shakhtar. I'm not, I retract that. He wasn't okay. He was a good player for Shakhtar Donetsk, but he wasn't on the level that Bruno Fernandes is, and we're haggling to pay 8 million more than we paid for him last year. It's the hypocrisy that winds me up with how Manchester United do deals. And look, you know what? Somebody said to me yesterday, maybe we're not in for Rabiot, maybe we're not in for Ndombele, maybe we're not in for Fernandes, and that's not why we're getting them. Well, can I just spin that around and say, okay, let's believe that, which I know is not true anyway, but let's pretend we're not in for Ndombele, we're not in for Rabiot, and we're not in for Bruno Fernandes. Why? Why are we not in for those players? Like, why are we not? Our midfield, out of every Premier League top 6 side, needs the most work. Why would we not be in for those players? One is a free agent, one is, and two are around for £60 million, and they're both infinitely better than what we've got. So why would we not be in for those? Either way, it's bad. One, we're not in for them, or two, we don't get them. But I think this was my fear going into the transfer window, and I'm sure it was many of your fears as well, that we were going to go into it and we were going to end up in issues. But where we go from here is very interesting in the midfield options. I still hope we can get Bruno Fernandes, and I think maybe it becomes even more important now, because if reports last week from France were true that United were in for Ndombele and now they haven't got him, then that's a target gone. If you lose more, losing one target is disappointing. Losing 2 or 3, that's an issue. So maybe that will refocus United's effort on Bruno Fernandes now. And to be honest with you, would I prefer Ndombele or Bruno Fernandes? I know a lot of you would prefer Ndombele. I would probably prefer Bruno Fernandes. But we need more than that. And where is that more than that going to go? Rabiot goes Juventus, Ndombele goes Spurs. That's 2 options gone. Bruno Fernandes is still up in the air. Hopefully we can get that. We still need more. And that's why I would be looking at Thomas Partey now. Longstaff, I don't know whether United are becoming a bit of a kindergarten, because all I ever read about is 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, people who've played 5 games who'll be great for the future. Like, we need players great for now. We need players who are going to be good for now as well, and that's why United need to look at. And that's why I do think, just very quickly as well, I do think United will sign Wan Bissaka, and I think it will be done today, because I think they need a positive. United need a positive. So today or tomorrow, they've got to get that done. It's been going on for too long. He's now back in England. Get the medical done, get it unveiled. And I do think it will happen today, because I think United need to spin it. And football fans are very flippant. And I think for all the anger there is about Ndombele and Glazers and everything like that, if Wan Bissaka gets revealed today, a lot of that anger will subside. Wrongly or rightly, it will. Looking at other midfield options, I want to just quickly talk about Idrissa Gueye. Now, remember when Herrera was walking out the door, we were heavily linked to Idrissa Gueye. He's currently part of the Senegal team for the AFCON. And he is 29 years of age. He's actually the same age as Ander Herrera. He probably cost about 30 to 40 million pounds. I mean, look, is it the sort of signing that excites me? No, it isn't. But I think there was something about him making the most tackles in the whole of Europe or whole of England last season. And he certainly gives us something we don't have in the midfield, which is a bit of tenacity and drive and speed. And to be honest with you, if you were going to... Look, we maybe aren't going to get the targets we want. Do we down tools as Manchester United fans and go, forget about it, I'm not going to support us anymore? I mean, look, I'm all for negativity and I'm all for, being disappointed. But we're not walking away, are we? This is our football club. So, we can't just cry and, we didn't get the player we want. We're finished. We're going to be crap. Well, maybe we are, but we're still going to support the club, aren't we? And I think about that, and I think, kick Matic off, send him on a bloody, send him on a trip to Blackpool for 9 months. I don't care where he goes. But drop Idrissa Gueye into the CDM role. I think he's got the speed and tenacity across the ground to allow us to play a Pogba and Fernandes in a 3, who are more attacking minded. I don't think you can do it with Matic. I think he's too slow and static. But, so that is an option. It is. I'm looking at other options now, and I want people to get in the comments below. What are the midfield options now? I know people will start saying, well, Ndidi. Well, but Ndidi, Leicester going to sell Ndidi? I don't think they are. Thomas Partey is a good one. The interesting thing about Thomas Partey and Idrissa Gueye, one with Senegal, one with Cameroon, they're both going to be playing in the AFCON till the middle of July, so they're not going to go on tour anyway. So that's not ideal. The great thing, as I said last night, with Ndombele or Rabiot is they come straight into the team, they go straight on the tour. So that's advantage to Spurs straight away. They're getting a player who can go on their tour. United, we don't even know if we're getting players yet. But Idrissa Gueye is an interesting one. A real outsider, and I only bring him in, I think I saw it in the Express, and it just dropped into my head, not because I think the Express is reliable, far from it. I mean, hopefully they are reliable on this, but Saul Niguez, is an interesting one. He can play that. He can play all midfield roles, but he'd be a very good player in the midfield. 24 years of age. We've mentioned him a couple of years ago on the United stand in the summer. Very, very good player. Star quality player, but I don't, again, think that he would fancy Manchester United. I don't, and I think he would cost a lot of money as well. So I mention him just as one to consider, but more to consider in the fact that, look, the world doesn't end and begin with Ndombele, Rabiot and Bruno Fernandes. Of course it doesn't. It's disappointing not to get two of them, and hopefully we still will get Bruno Fernandes. If we don't get any of them, it's very, very disappointing. But there are other players out there. There are other players out there. But part of me is very, very disappointed. But part of me remembers the end of last season and thinking, look, you've got to... You haven't got to embrace it and hug it, but you've got to accept the reality that we were absolutely terrible in those last few months of the season. We did finish 6th. We've got no God-given right to demand star quality players come to our football club just because we're Manchester United. We've got to build that back, and that is the onus is on the board for that. You know, we cannot cry in a river of tears and drown. We've got to get out, dry ourselves off, and just think, well, you know what? This is hard. This is hard. We can't. Ndombele doesn't want to come here. Rabiot doesn't want to come here. They're star quality players. We can't get them, so we're going to have to go down a level. But we've got to bring players in, and we've got to fight. You know. It's just the way it is. It's the way it is, and that's what Manchester United need to do. Ben Yedder features there, and a very interesting transfer show today, isn't it? Because it's a different transfer show. It's a different feel. It's the optimism starting to go, isn't it? And this is always the danger. I think at the start of the transfer window, everything's possible. We're now hitting it where targets are going elsewhere, and disappointment starts to set in. But I'm worried. That Bruno Fernandes bookies odd thing really worries me, because Ndombele was odds on to go to Spurs for 4 weeks, and he's going to Spurs. And there wasn't a hell of, Spurs were linked to Ndombele, but Spurs have been linked to Bruno Fernandes. They've also been linked to somebody else, like La Chelsea from Spain. So Spurs have been heavily linked with 3 midfielders. So thinking Ndombele, well, it could have been one of the other two, but they were always odds on to get Ndombele. So, things are going on, aren't they? It's big money, it's big business. Bookies don't not often get it wrong. I'm worried about that Bruno Fernandes one, because that will be a crushing blow. Ben Yedder, I must just bring him in. 28, he'll actually be 29 in August. 30 goals last season for Sevilla, looking for a move. £40 million release clause, I think. He's a good striker. He's quick. He's got a bit of flair about him. He can score goals. I think for United, it'd be very... we're talking about Lukaku going here, because in fairness to United, we've spent a lot of time working on Wan Bissaka, but I think we're also working on the Lukaku exit deal as well. Because you've got to work on the exit as much as you've got to work as the incoming as well. And there's no... Look, we're avoiding it because we just want it to happen. But work has to go into Lukaku's deal as well, and that is obviously ongoing at the moment with Inter Milan. There are things going on. So he goes, do you bring another striker in? I think Rashi will be the first choice striker, and hopefully he will fulfil his talent. But Yedder would be interesting because he's only 5'7", so he's a very different type of striker. And I wonder if United... I'd heard that United wanted a taller striker, but actually, somebody like that could be quite interesting. So again, bear that in mind. I do start to worry a little bit about what we're going to do in this transfer window. I'm starting to think we might not get a right winger. I do think we're going to get a centre back, and we've got to get a couple of midfielders, because I go back to what I said before. I think when Pogba handed that transfer request in, or the technical transfer request, when he said I wanted a new challenge, I and many people were like, if you don't want to be at our club, get out the door. We'll be fine without you. And we started thinking, yeah, just get Rabiot, Tielemans and Bruno Fernandes. Well, Rabiot's off the equation now, but Bruno Fernandes could be off the equation, and Ndombele looks like he's off the equation. So, it's not just about we need 2 midfielders to complement Pogba. How the bloody hell do you get 3 midfielders in, one of which is to replace Pogba? It's very, very difficult. But I've just named somebody there. Tielemans is an essential player for United now, I think. I think if we don't get Ndombele and we don't get Rabiot, which we're not going to, are we? And Bruno Fernandes, oh God, I just hope we get him. Like I say, I think if I keep saying it to myself, it might happen. Because it's just there. It's to be that deal's there to be done. Just outbid Liverpool and give him better wages. Just get it done, for God's sake. Stop negotiating and get these deals done. Overpay. Like, overpay. I don't give a shit if United spend over 10 million more than Liverpool in wages or whatever. It's just, we need to get some quality players in. I don't trust this squad at all, and it needs major addition. But there are other players out there as well. You know, just talking about that right winger there. Why are we not looking at Ziyech from Ajax? Top quality one. I'm not saying he's world class, but consistent. Knows how to play the high press. Knows how to play with ball at his feet. Great assists. Loads of goals in him. I mean, he'd just be brilliant for that right hand side. And, you know, I'm not saying he's going to go on to be a world beater, but not everybody needs to be a world beater. I often say this, you know, signing a player. When you're signing players, everybody's like, oh yeah, it's great when you sign the star quality player, he's going to be world class. But you know, the Ji-Sung Parks of this world, the Phil Nevilles of this world. I mean, he's more of a reserve, but you know what I mean. Every team needs the consistent performer, and I think Ziyech, well, all right, he might not be the star of the team, but if he can consistently give you 7 and 8 out of 10 every week, every game, that's a very important player. And of course, on our right hand side, you've got Mata and Lingard, who struggle to give you a 6 average out of 10. So he would be an interesting player. There are players out there. I think we are struggling. I think Manchester United struggle because I have a theory that the reason we're focusing on young British talent is because there isn't people in that club who know young or even the European market. I don't think we know the European market because it makes total sense for United to go and sign Ziyech on the right wing for 30 million over signing, I don't know, a right winger from England who's British for 50 million because he's British. The European market's cheaper than the British market, and the players are as good, if not better. But you've got to know that market, and I don't think United demonstrate enough that they know the market outside of the Premier League. And that is probably because we haven't got a sporting director or a director of football, and I think that hinders us. I really, really do. But look, I expect a positive today. I expect Wan Bissaka to be unveiled today. If not today, tomorrow. But I think it will happen today because I think we went 2 days where Manchester United didn't tweet anything out, and then they tweeted about a charity bike ride, which is great. But that to me shows that the club's a mess because you don't not tweet for 2 days to then tweet about something that's not a signing. Everyone thinks it's going to be a signing because we haven't tweeted for 2 days. We haven't tweeted for 2 days because the club's in a bit of a mess at the moment. You know, obviously there's the Glazer out stuff, but there's a lot of unhappiness. So they're just keeping it on the low. And I think United need a positive. Like any brand would know, they need a positive. So that Wan Bissaka deal, I expect it to be done very, very soon to just throw a bit of positive. But as I said as well, are you excited about Wan Bissaka? Yes, I am, because he's a very, very good right back. But we've dragged the deal on so long, like we all do, that we're just joy suckers, aren't we? We suck the joy out of it. But things have got to change. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. We're not going anywhere. We're Manchester United fans. We've got a right to be disappointed. I mean, Ndombele would have been a dream signing. Rabiot would have been a very, very good signing. But they're not always possible. And the situation we're in, we've got to be realistic about we're not an attractive proposition. But the thing I take away from this, especially about Ndombele, is this really brings home what a bad situation we're in as a football club when players are picking Spurs over us. And that's not disrespecting Spurs, fair play, but they're not title winners. It's not like Spurs have suddenly become title winners. Spurs are not going to win the title next year. They're not going to win the Champions League next year. They'll be competing, they'll be third, and they might get to semi-finals or quarter-finals of the Champions League, but they're not going to win it. And Ndombele would rather pick that than Manchester United because that is better than what Manchester United are at the moment, and that's how far we've fallen, and we need to wake up to that. And so moaning about Woodward or whoever not signing Ndombele, in a way, it's a flawed argument because why wouldn't they choose Spurs over us? But then the bigger picture is it's not a flawed argument because the last 6 years of poor recruitment has put us into this situation we are now where players like Ndombele won't come to Manchester United. And that's a hypothetical. You know, nobody definitely knows that United were bidding for him, even though French sources say we were. But we should have been, so we'll use it. And he didn't choose us. Thanks everyone for watching. Please do smash a like on the video. Loads and loads to talk about in that video. I know it's a little bit of a different transfer daily, but there's a lot to talk about, a lot to digest. Get your comments in. I really want to read those this morning and see what people are thinking. Smash a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we will be back at live at 8 o'clock tonight, but I think I might be live before that, so make sure you've got your notifications on and you are subscribed. I think Wan Bissaka will be announced today. Thanks for watching. Speak to you soon.